we're in the kind of the last day before book 21 is where we really do the setup of the axes. So this is just like we're leading into the day, which will then lead into book 21, which is the night with the challenge and everything, and then which will lead into 22, which is the slaughter, right? So we're on kind of the last sun these men shall ever see, really. Oh, hi, Diginani? That's what I think that's what your name is. Hi, welcome. I'm sure it'll be interesting to hear in English, me with all my crazy voices. Anyway, so this is book 20, aptly titled Portents Gather, which is just like the last big warning sign that nobody's going to listen to. Hey, I'd be okay if it was coffee. I'm a fan of coffee. Anyway. Off in the entrance hall, the great king made his bed, spreading out on the ground the raw hide of an ox, heaping over it fleece from sheep the suitors butchered day and night. Then Eurynome threw a blanket over him once he'd nestled down, and there Odysseus lay, plotting within himself the suitors' death. Awake, alert, as the women slipped from the house, the maids who hoard in the suitors' bed each night, tittering, linking arms, and frisking as before. So let's mention that real quickly, because we're talking kind of about the disloyal maids. I know some people wonder, like, there have been some people who say, like, oh, they had no choice, whatever. I'm like, the choice to leave the palace where they essentially live to then go sleep with the suitors, that is a conscious choice they make. They do not have to leave and do that. These women make that choice on their own, right? No one is forcing them to go and do this. So this is why the rage towards them is so strong, because they're making a conscious choice, sure, to go and sleep with the suitors, but it's just like, wow, really? The people who are just like sieging this house? And then, as we know, also you then have Melantho, who takes that even further, and you could wonder if some of the other maids might be as well, but they slip information to the suitors, and that's how Penelope's weaving trick gets found out. So it's like, if I'm him and I'm seeing that, and also remember they were really rude to him earlier, I'd be like, ooh, I could smack a hoe. Like, like, how dare you do this? So that's one thing I wanted to point out is, you know, they're going out of their way to sleep with the suitors, which does seem to indicate consent and that they're initiating will and desire to continue it. So Odysseus' rage at this, again, is very understandable. I mean, he's already angry at the whole situation, but seeing them do that and everything that he's witnessed, like, his rage is building up. Like, again, he's a pressure cooker and we're turning up the heat. And so he's just getting more and more furious the more he sees, which kind of also makes it clear that I think Telemachus was also even more right in saying, hey, no, we shouldn't go through all of the lands and gather people. It's like, you should come to the house. Home is where everything's happening. So even more, he's getting to see up close and personal what Penelope and Telemachus have been having to deal with on their own. About to go full Godfather Klinghouse, I know. Oh, gee, welcome back. The master's anger rose inside his chest, torn in thought, debating head and heart. Should he up and rush them? Kill them one and all? Or let them rut with their lovers one last time? The heart inside him growled low with rage, as a bitch mounting over her weak, defenseless puppies growls, facing a stranger, bristling for a showdown. So he growled from his depths, hackles rising at their outrage. But he struck his chest and curbed his fighting heart. Bear up, old heart. You've borne worse. Far worse. That day when the Cyclops man mounted bolted your hardy comrades down. But you held fast. Nobody but your cunning pulled you through the monster's cave you thought would be your death. Can it be assumed the maids who did sleep with the suitors was hoping that if the suitors did become a king, they would become concubines instead? They might. Or maybe even that if they didn't become king, they might get married off into their household, though that is a very slim chance that a noble would marry someone like them, or maybe purchase them, like bring them into their house, like make a deal. You never really know. Could just be that they were bored. I mean, as I always say, never forget that like anybody can get bored and anybody can do something stupid. But that's, I think, something that is an option and a possibility. They could likely be doing kind of the social math in their head of thinking, is this a better situation? Which, given they've been in this, we don't know how long all of them have been there. We know Melanthos been there since she was a very young child. They've likely been there, a lot of them might have never really met Odysseus, and they've just sort of watched this house kind of sit stagnant and kind of empty and just sort of see it as like lost cause, gonna, grass greener on the other side kind of thing. I think that's absolutely an option, and absolutely something they could be thinking. And there's the cold logical part of any person would go, yeah, I get that. Like, I can see that. Where versus a lot of the rest of us are just like, you suck. Would Penelope have authority to sell the serving women? It's a very good question. She might not. But at that, and this is also part of the problem, is she might not have the authority, because this would all technically be Odysseus' house. Now, maybe she could go to Laertes, but he's not well, as we know. So it would then be the case, does she then have to allow Telemachus to rise as head of house? But if she does that, she basically loses her position. She loses any influence and power she can wield, and it completely ruins this like entente that she's like trying to hold very steady. I mean, she's again, like, imagine somebody who's doing like the plate spinning and balancing them all. She's balancing a lot of plates, and she's not willing to sacrifice any one of them. So yeah, part of that could be the maids are just stuck there, and they're tired of being stuck there. Again, part of me can completely understand, even though I'm very much Team House Odysseus, and I'm just like, bish, how dare you? Also, God, the suitors ain't worth it. I wouldn't want to go to any of their houses, no thanks. Yeah, it is just a bad situation all around. Again, nobody's got a good situation here. Not a person. Everybody's in a shit situation when it comes to those who are somehow related to the house of Odysseus. The heart here is Kadia. Well, actually, Kradie with letter switch, which is a female noun. Oh, so the heart is a female organ. Head versus, I can kind of, weirdly that makes sense to me. It does. It makes sense to me. Who was ruling Ithaca in Odie's absence? Is Penelope like the regent? It essentially, we know that Odysseus left, initially his father would have had to step back up. I mean, Laertes obviously is there. He could have been ruling, and then would have been a combination of him. Plus you have Mentor, who we know was there. We know he was sort of in charge mostly of Telemachus and Telemachus' education, but he also was the person that Odysseus trusted with his house, so Mentor would have potentially also been there assisting. And then you have, Penelope in assisting as much as she would be allowed as well. Let's also remember that the idea of kingship here is not, like, don't think medieval era. Like, don't think the Middle Ages and, like, most, like, sort of Western European ideas of kingship that come from many centuries later. It's because you could be, we even saying the word king, we're using it kind of loosely. They're all, like, lords in a way. Now, Odysseus is kind of like the high king, if you will, because he's the richest of all of them, has the most land, his family's been there longest and most established. So he's kind of in charge, but a lot of these people could go about their daily lives and not necessarily need to interact with the house of Odysseus on like a political level. I mean, one, Ithaca's not that interesting. Sorry, hate to say it, it is the backwoods. But also, I mean, we don't even know if or what kind of laws might have been established on Ithaca, right? So it's just like, how much were the populace even interacting with this, air quotes, royal house before then, right? Especially in the Bronze Age. Warlord is a much better term. It's essentially what all of these heroes, especially those who are coming in as air quotes kings, they're warlords. Also part of the suitors, were they okay with the situation because it eliminates competition? We talked about this a lot in the earlier books. Could they have asked for help? I mean, they could have, but a lot of these kingdoms are still recovering from the war at Troy. Like, understand, when all of your able men go off to war, you're left to pick up the slack, and they were doing it for at minimum 10 years, and then however long it took everybody to come back. They could ask for help, but you run a risk because you're asking a favor. And again, everything is kind of a barter system, and Ithaca really doesn't have any chips to play. Again, Ithaca is not important. Ithaca is not a big deal. Nobody gives a shit about Ithaca. Like, if Odysseus were not from there, I don't think anybody would remember Ithaca or care. They're not important. They have no chips to play. They have nothing they could really bargain with other people, because it would be these other kingdoms deigning to help you. And if they do that, they might demand essentially something in return you're not willing to give. There's also the fact that Penelope's not really in a place to ask for help. Again, this whole thing of we have not declared Odysseus dead. We've left ourselves in this weird frozen in time moment we're trying for, but it means she can't really ask for outside help. She can't do anything about her situation, but it's the only thing she knows to make sure she doesn't have to remarry, and that her son can hopefully be in a good place to step in and take the reins if he absolutely has to. Use of nobody with a capitalization, a coincidence in reference to the Cyclops incident. Is nobody used? No, I don't have nobody use. Oh. No, okay, that one I don't know. You would, so Game Wizard, Mariana, if you're happening to be here. For us in Fagles, it's around line like 23 or so, that bit where he's, beating his heart, and he talks about the Cyclops. He says, but you held fast. Nobody but your cunning pulled you through the monstrous cave. Is the word used there autis? Because then I would think maybe it's a reference. Other than that, I wouldn't think so, because I don't think he'd want to be reminded of that. But, it could be the poet having fun, so... Oh, I got it, but it seems not. Okay, it's a different word. I didn't think so. It just seems it's because of the M dash and M dash plus line change. I mean, maybe Fagles is sort of having fun, but I figured in the Greek it's not making a reference. No, it's anthropos agnoesas, a man not known. That's kind of what I figured. I'm like, he wouldn't use autis here. We already had so many problems with the autis. I'm like, he's not bringing that back up. We've done that already. Now, Fagles in capitalizing the nobody might be having fun. Just kind of like a little wink, but I think it's designed to be sort of a coincidence. Hold on, let me see if there's any more questions that I missed, because I saw several hands. Is Antinous just as insufferable in all the English translations? Yes, because he's insufferable in the Greek. Antinous is awful. All the suitors are awful. There's no good suitor. Not a single one. So, easy. An easy answer, Nancy. Every suitor sucks in any translation you do because they suck. And Agnes, you can't disagree with me because you know what I'll do. I see the LOL. Antinous is the worst from the OG start. Yep. Antinous is just like the most... I think he's the most annoying. That's what he is. No. Agnes, don't you dare. I was gonna spray that way like I usually do, but Peg is sitting there and I don't want to hit her with glitter water. Yeah, the fallout from the slaughter is gonna be a mess. I mean, that's really why we have book 24. It's essentially to deal with the fallout. But it's important because we've been emphasizing the importance and the dangers of like blood feuds essentially throughout the Odyssey. So, and that violence, even when as a brutal necessity, has consequences. So some people say like, oh, book 24 is just tacked down, it's not important. I'm like, no, it's very important. When we're talking about the fallout of again, violence and killing as a brutal necessity in this world, you need to address that because Homer has shown there are consequences for that. Always. Like, nobody gets off scot-free. He doesn't really make them worse. I mean, with the exception of the essay bit, which is just like so unnecessary and never mentioned in the Odyssey, he just makes them dumber. Like, that's all he does. He doesn't make them worse. He just makes them dumber. And by doing things, I'm like, they would never do that. Like, they are... Because Homer uses a lot of the suitors, if he's gonna identify three of them. So like Antinous, Eurymachus, Amphinomus. Like those big three, we'll say. He uses them to show you different kinds of essentially evil. Here's 3 different ways terrible people are terrible, especially when they're behaving like vultures on what they think is a carcass. So like he uses it for that, but Jorge doesn't do that. What would happen if Penelope had rewed? She would have moved households, actually. If she had said, Odysseus is dead, Telemachus is inheriting his father's stuff, and then she left, if I were her and she was getting remarried, I would return to Sparta to her father Icarius and then go through the remarrying process. Big if, the sort of, if we're doing a counterfactual kind of big if, she would then be a part of that person's household. Because let's remember, women were property. They weren't really citizens. And women do not usually get to choose their husbands. This is, once again, Penelope's being presented with a very rare occasion where she's kind of being given the option to potentially pick. And that's just due to her status as the current wife, potential widow of a hero, kind of, sorta, and the way that Troy has kind of thrown everything a bit out of joint. The only other persons who really got to choose their husband were big exceptions, like Atalanta, who's essentially a hero and kind of, doing her own thing, but then Helen is the massive exception, and she's a daughter of Zeus, so that's why she gets the exception privilege. But it's huge that she got to pick her husband. So Penelope is being presented with an incredible choice. It also then puts her in a position of what little power she's got. So if she were to remarry, she would essentially have to probably first relinquish everything and say, like, this is now Telemachus, he's man, he's head of the house, we're declaring Odysseus dead, we're doing all the funeral rites. Telemachus step up. Now, she would want to make sure he's in a perfect position to do that. That's part of the problem we're having here. We need to know, if Odysseus is dead, how did he die? Because that's important. And then she would, if she were to then remarry, she'd be a part of that person's household. Can she not remarry and stay in Ithaca? I mean, if she stayed in Ithaca, it would mean she's marrying somebody who's on Ithaca. She moves into their household, right? So no, she can't marry some dude from unless the guy wanted her to do this, and it would be very strange, there's kind of no reason to. Part of the whole reason you marry is this would likely have to be done either through Telemachus as her son, if he's now in charge of the household, or through her father, Icarius. So, they would be moving her into the household of whoever she married with, whether it be Ithaca, some other island, or somewhere on the mainland. Yeah, Helen being given the choice only to have it taken away is my Roman Empire. I'm forever furious on her behalf. Well, she would leave Telemachus alone, painted. She could stay and say, well, I'll leave it to my son to pick me a husband, and he could delay that. I mean, but again, they need to be in a really strong position to do that, especially now when we see all these suitors at the door, right? No, not remarry, just stay in Ithaca as mother of the king. Again, yeah, an option. Tough when she's still potentially of childbearing age. It does make it hard, because that's sort of the thing, is we know she's potentially still could have a kid, which is sort of the deal here. But that would be if she then said, I'm leaving it to my son, and then went, son, you better fucking stall this like crazy. Yes, then she could reasonably, I believe, stay in Ithaca. It's a little tough, because we only know, now again, this is Bronze Age, we only know so much. Truly, we only know so much. I mean, so half the time we don't even know what these people called themselves, right? We call them the Mycenaean Greeks. These are names that were given by scholars in the 19th century. So, we only know so much about Bronze Age, so there's a lot of speculation and guesswork, and oftentimes we kind of have to look a little later and go, well, this is what we think would happen, or, based on XYZ, this is what we think would happen. A lot of these are counterfactuals, again, with mythological characters. In stories that even these, even the Odyssey and the Iliad, have fucking anachronisms in them, where it's using weaponry that's too old, or ships that are too new, and what have you. So, you kind of have to muddle through. This is why I'm doing my best to answer these questions with what I think, but take me with a grain of salt, to be fair. As I always say, I could be very wrong for all we know. An actual classicist or a classical historian could step up and go, she's full of shit, here's what would actually happen. I'd go absolutely ready to bow and say, I don't know here. There was a bard, he was not a suitor. No, people like the bards, no, a bard would never come in as a suitor. All of these suitors are essentially land-owning gentry. The bard comes in as an entertainer and to basically make a living, right? He's just there as an entertainer. It's very important when we hit the slaughter of the suitors. I'm glad you remembered bards and stuff like that. Yes, these singers, absolutely. Okay, meanwhile, Odysseus is big mad at seeing these maids just like hop on out for a little quickie, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Which, God, I mean, I do have to question their taste. What do you think of our current age would be called if there weren't stuff calling us Common Era AD? I don't know. I just sort of call us the modern era, postmodern era. I don't know what we get called. Yeah, no, the bard is cool. The bard is cool because he's not a suitor. Those guys are not suitors. So, the bard just shows up, sings his songs. I mean, he would sort of travel around. He's not necessarily linked to the household either. So he'd be like a freeman, if you will. He's not a dolos, which is their word for essentially a slave, indentured servant, if you will. So yeah, he can wander all over and be a singer and be a bard. And he must be pretty good. I mean, he brought Penelope to weeping in the beginning, so he must be pretty damn good. This look on age. Yeah, he's here to tell stories, eat, potentially get shelter. I mean, this is, again, we're in the Bronze Age, we don't have currency. While a lot of trade goes on, and I'm reading a really fun book about kind of the downfall of the Bronze Age in the Mediterranean, there's lots of trading that goes on, especially among the higher ups, of course, you know, kings and whatever have you. They're all trading goods and such. There's no currency. There's no coinage. We're not at that stage yet. So everybody's essentially doing a trading and a bartering system, which is why a lot of them are like, I'm happy to do work for a meal and a place to lie my head, kind of thing. That's the system we're in. Egypt is nuts. The bard might be having a semi-chill time. Yeah, he might be the only one. The only one having a semi-chill time. Anyway, Odysseus. So he forced his spirit into submission. The rage in his breast reined back, unswerving, all endurance. But he himself kept tossing, turning, intent as a cook before some white-hot blazing fire, who rolls his sizzling sausage back and forth, packed with fat and blood, keen to broil it quickly, tossing, turning, this way, that. So he cast about. What could he get how could he get these shameless suitors in his clutches? One man facing a mob. When close to his side, she came. Athena, sweeping down from the sky in a woman's build and hovering at his head, the goddess spoke. Why still awake, the unluckiest man alive? Here is your house, your wife at home, your son, as fine a boy as one could hope to have. She's literally coming in like mom going, why are you still up? Like, bitch, you know we're getting up early tomorrow to travel. Like, bitch, why you still up? She's the one checking and finding out you're like secretly reading or something under the covers. And she's like, busted. He's sizzling. I love the thing with the song. Yeah, Athena. We love Athena. Mariana. I know. I was be like, Mariana, I was like, I know exactly this. But she comes in like, why are you not asleep? Get your rest, damn it. You got a big day tomorrow. Literally what she's coming in being like. True, the wily fighter replied. How right you are, goddess. But still, this worry haunts me, heart and soul. How can I get these shameless suitors in my clutches? Single-handed, braving an army always camped inside. There's another worry that haunts me even more. What if I kill them, thanks to you and Zeus? How do I run from under their avengers? Show me the way, I ask you. You know, with the chocolate, go the fuck to sleep. I mean, honestly, what he's worrying about here, very valid. Again, we were talking about every action has a consequence. This violence, even brutal necessity, has a consequence. He's like, they're gonna have avengers. Like, again, even Poseidon wanting to avenge his son, we sit there going, but he violated Xenia, he's terrible. It's like, Poseidon's like, that's still my son. That's still my reputation. So all these suitors have fathers who, even if their sons are despicable, are gonna be like, but that's my son. I must avenge. Like, again, the futility, or the almost insanity of the blood feud, which again, Homer has explored the almost insanity of all this, like, feeling of brutal necessity and violence. In the Iliad, it's related to war. In here, it's related to, like, just fallout from violence. Because, again, the Odyssey is all just fallout from insane bouts of violence, right? Yeah, you can't participate in recreatory murder if you're not well rested. Too bad. Yeah, he's trash, but he's my trash. The suitor's his father's. Yeah, he was a moron, but he was my son. Okay. Impossible man, Athena bantered, the goddess's eyes ablaze. Others are quick to trust a weaker comrade, some poor mortal, far less cunning than I. But I'm a goddess, look, the very one who guards you in all your trials to the last. I tell you this straight out. Even if 50 bands of mortal fighters closed around us, hot to kill us off in battle, still, you could drive away their herds and sleek flocks. So, surrender to sleep at last. What a misery, keeping watch through the night, wide awake. You'll soon come up from under all your troubles. Again, Athena, our girl. She did nothing wrong. But again, we're seeing, as I say, Athena has to bring sleep to a member of the house of Odysseus. I mean, especially we've been watching, Penelope gets no sleep unless Athena rolls in to give it to her. All of this trauma, rage, anxiety, grief, these very human emotions. And again, paints a very human portrait of these mythological characters. Yes, they are all humans, they're not gods, but like, you feel them. They feel very real and very, like, I get that. Yeah, I know how they feel. And like, thank God we have divine intervention needs to come to give them respite because they can't get it because they're so overwhelmed with big Greek people with their big Greek feelings. And I think, personally, I think that adds to why, like, stories like the Odyssey and the Iliad endure, especially on a human level, and it's also even why they remain in high esteem with so many people. It's like they speak so well to the human condition, even when, you know, the Greeks back then, they have no words to explain PTSD and trauma and anxiety, or like all of these things. They have no vocabulary for it, but you've seen it, you know it, you felt it, you kind of, to it as best you can in that age, understand it, that you can put it forth, and we get it. I mean, we're here, what? Almost 3,000 years later, and we're just like, mood. Get that. Totally feel that. Know how that feels. Is Athena magically helping the House of Odysseus sleep meant to parallel Helen in earlier chapters giving everyone herbs after talking about Troy? That's a great question that actually I had not thought about. Now, whether the Greek in any way parallels some of this, I'm not sure. Mariana would be your expert there. But I think there's an element of that the grief, you know, these feelings are so big and so hot, like, you know, so intense. You need intervention. In the case of Menelaus, who can barely talk about Troy without collapsing, Helen's like, and we get the ancient Greek anti-anxiety meds. Everyone smoke a joint, like, do something. In this case, there is an element of, it's grief, there's a lot of anger here, which I wonder, because we mentioned the Cyclops cave, is meant to parallel the kind of rage he felt in that cave and how we're doing things differently. remember, if we look at let's put Cyclops cave, actually, and what's happening here. Awesome question, no idea. I know, I was gonna say, it's a great question. And Mariana, you can then further me on this, where I'm going, I wonder if we're actually making sort of a parallel a bit with his emotions in the Cyclops cave and how we're showing he's a different hero, right? He has changed, he has evolved, he's smarter now in a way. Because we talked about his anger, these messy emotions that he had, and how it got really out of hand with him in the Cyclops cave. He went overboard, and there were extreme consequences to that. The whole Outis trick, yeah, that's great, but then doing that and then trying to dox himself and everything else, it fell apart, it created big problems. Here, he's having that same buildup of personal rage and wrath, but he's reining it in. He's maintaining the illusion. In both these cases, he's gone into a place and kind of lied about who he is. Now, some people might know who he is, because even the Cyclops, he's like, well, I didn't totally lie. He said, you know, I sailed with Agamemnon, but then he lied and said, oh, but my ship got destroyed, and all this stuff. Now, again, because he's experienced bad Xenia. Kind of similar in here. It's like, okay, the good people know who he is. The air quotes good people. But, you know, he's on an undercover mission. So I think there are some kind of parallels here to that. And in this case, it is sort of his rage is being tempered. He's able to rein it back because he understands the importance of, okay, no, we're not, it's not, you know, wait for the opportune moment in the It's sort of Pirates of the Caribbean wording, if you will. It's not quite yet. He wants this done, and he wants it done right. He doesn't want the same consequences that happened with the Cyclops. Even thinking here about blood feuds, he's thinking ahead in a way he wasn't quite thinking before. He was a little too hubristic, a little still caught up in all like, I'm the big man who did the horse from Troy. And we're like, okay, but you kind of already threw that out the window. What the fuck, my brah? Versus here, he's like, okay, this is all about coming home, taking back my house, doing it right. Yeah, that's why Odysseus remembers what happened in the cave, and he reminds his heart to endure that same suffering and hold on to his disguise. But for the aftermath, yeah, he's thinking ahead. Definitely. So the parallel to the Cyclops cave, I think, is sort of a more important one, but I do think actually the parallel to Helen having to basically dose up her husband, you know what, I think there could be a parallel to the way Athena treats the house of Odysseus in allowing them to sleep. She's trying to bring them respite, even if it's temporary, even if maybe some might say it's a little false. You're sort of doing your best. You're finding a way to make it work, right? Like in the same way that like healing is not linear. A lot of the times you might have to just put a Band-Aid on it. You kind of gotta make it work. You fake it till you make it. That's sort of what we're seeing in both those cases. But I think a bigger parallel here is definitely with the Cyclops cave, which is why it got mentioned. Again, Homer knows what he's doing. Homer got a plan. Oh my god, a stringboard theory between Iliad and Odyssey would, you're gonna run out of string. You're gonna run out of string. Okay, so Athena has now finally said, now go the fuck to sleep, sleep dust, like go to sleep. With that, she showered sleep across his eyes, and back to Olympus went the lustrous goddess. As soon as sleep came on him, loosing his limbs, slipping the toils of anguish from his mind, his devoted wife awoke, and sitting up in her soft bed, returned to tears. When the queen had wept to her heart's content, she prayed to the huntress Artemis first of all. Artemis, goddess, noble daughter of Zeus, if only you'd whip an arrow through my breast and tear my life out now at once. Or let some whirlwind pick me up and sweep me away along those murky paths and fling me down where the ocean river running round the world rolls back upon itself. Quick, as the whirlwind swept away Pandarius's daughters years ago when the gods destroyed their parents, leaving the young girls orphans in their house. I know, poor Penelope. I mean, she's basically woken up, I think, from like a nightmare. But let's briefly, because she mentions them, Pandarius's daughters. Now, we briefly mentioned them actually in the previous book, kind of in book 19. Pandarius was the story of the nightingale, if you can recall. This seems to have no connection to that story. Because the daughters are not named, and this might be, it's speculated, a kind of oblique foreshadowing to the death of the maids. Because we do know Melantho is said to, like, Penelope almost treated her kind of like a daughter in the same way that Odysseus' mother, Anticlea, treated Eumaeus kind of like a son. Like, she seems to have tried to do that with Melantho, but obviously Melantho's not worthy of it. We don't think about Melantho. So I wonder if it's the idea of, like, the daughters are being killed, like, or is she having a vision of slaughter is to come. She seems to have woken up in great distress, and it's upsetting her greatly, obviously. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I can't imagine the level of stress she's under. And again, I think this is a good showing of, even if they don't have the words to understand, like, what is it like to essentially be stalked? The stress, the pain, the depression, like, what is it like to suffer in this way? Even if we've never had the exact situation she's in, we understand the feeling she's having. Like, sometimes you just, like, as we would say, screaming into Tartarus, crying out into the void, just like, please let it end. I would rather it end. She's in a very, as we've seen, everybody's very big emotions. She's in a very emotional place. I think it's completely understandable as well, even though we're like, no, hold on, baby. Just hold on a bit longer. We got this. Your man's coming. Your man's here. And it's true, anxiety, that you're right. It must be terrifying to think you might have your disguised husband there, but still not know for sure. And yeah, how many false alarms has she said? I mean, we know so many people have come and just been like, oh yeah, so Odysseus, whatever, and they're all fake. So she has no reason to trust anybody. So even though she has this thing, she's like, I think it might be my husband, she still has no confirmation of that, like true confirmation, which would still hurt. Are the daughters an inspiration of the daughters of Artemis from Percy Jackson and the Olympians? I don't know. That doesn't make sense though, given Artemis is a virgin goddess and never has children. So I don't think so. Also because these daughters are not of Artemis, they're daughters of Pandarius, who's a human queen. And yeah, no, she's not safe in her own home. Her own home, which should be like her temple, her safe space. It's not safe. It has not been safe for years. The stress of that is insane. But radiant Aphrodite nursed them well on cheese and luscious honey and heady wine, and Hera gave them beauty and sound good sense, more than all other women. Virgin Artemis made them tall, and Athena honed their skills to lovely work. But then, when Aphrodite approached Olympus's peaks to ask for the girls their crowning day as brides, from Zeus who loves the lightning, Zeus who knows all that's fated, all not fated for mortal man, which again, Zeus associated with prophecy, makes sense. Then the storm spirit snatched them away and passed them on to the hateful furies, yes, for all their loving care. Just so may the gods who rule Olympus blot me out. Artemis, with your glossy braids, come. Shoot me dead, so I can plunge beneath this loathsome earth with the image of Odysseus vivid in my mind. Never let me warm the heart of a weaker man. Moira. So, never let me warm the heart of a weaker man, just as Odysseus' great fear, we've known, was finding his wife gone and his palace empty, like everything's done. Penelope's fear is that she's gonna have to remarry and leave this place, and that she's gonna have to remarry somebody who's lesser than Odysseus, which I mean, he's a Greek hero. All these suitors are lesser than Odysseus. Let's make very clear, like, that's not a shocker to anybody. Yeah, I don't even think Narcissus would want that attention. No. In this dream she seems to have had, whatever it was, I mean, I think it's, you could argue it's, you know, this brief moment where she thinks, well, maybe my husband's here. It's like giving you an image of what you desire, but because you don't have the stability of knowing absolutely concrete 110% for sure, it's just going to cause you more pain. I could imagine this moment, and when also if you feel like it's, as they say, it's like the night before an attack, if we say we use a war metaphor, then it'd be like the stress. I mean, because Odysseus is having the same issue. They're both just like, can't fucking sleep, can't sleep, too many emotions. Like the moment I'm so close, potentially so close. You could also say dying with an image of Odysseus vivid in her mind. Remember, you want to be remembered after you're dead. That's the whole thing these heroes are chasing, because it's as close as they can get to immortality. Because they can't ever, I mean, unless again, you are the rare circumstance exceptions of Heracles and Diomedes, you're not becoming immortal. Dying so she doesn't forget him. She doesn't want to forget him. You know, this is, she's like, no, I had it so good. What the fuck? It's insane. The calm before the storm, yeah, and it's sometimes worse than the storm itself, because at the storm you're like braced, you're ready. This is like the holding your breath, waiting for it, which I'm like, man, she's having a rough time, and I don't blame her. Poor girl. Even grief is bearable, true, when someone weeps through the days sobbing, heart convulsed with pain, yet embraced by sleep all night, sweet oblivion, sleep dissolving all, the good and the bad, once it seals our eyes. But even my dreams torment me, sent by wicked spirits. Again, just this night, someone lay beside me, like Odysseus to the life, when he embarked with his men-at-arms. My heart raced with joy. No dream, I thought, the waking truth at last. Poor girl. She literally had a dream that her husband, as she knew him from 20 years ago, was back home. And then waking and going, fuck me. Like, God, again, this thing that, this dream that's giving her all that she wants, it hurts when you wake up. The reality sets back in. Wait, you want to come up? Come here. Come on, uppies. Good girl. Come on. You absolute freak. Excuse me. What are you sniffing for? There are no snacks hidden in here, I promise. Hey, Mama, you want to relax? Papa squat? I don't know what she's sniffing for. I don't eat on this chair, so I mean, there's okay. Okay, good job. Oh, thank you. You holding my hand? Okay, we'll do this one-handed. Oh, thank you. Her paw is on my hand. I don't know if anybody can see, so I have to be like, pug. She's not a pug, she's a Frenchie. She's here to rescue from the angst. Oh my God, Draco. At those words, dawn rose on her golden throne in a sudden gleam of light, and great Odysseus caught the sound of his wife's cry and began to daydream. Deep in his heart, it seemed, she stood beside him, knew him now at last. Gathering up the fleece and blankets where he'd slept, he laid them on a chair in the hall. He took the oxhide out and spread it down, lifted his hands and prayed to Zeus. Father Zeus, if you really willed it so, to bring me home over land and sea lanes, home to native ground after all the pain you brought me, show me a sign, a good omen voiced by someone awake indoors, another sign outside from Zeus himself. And Zeus, in all his wisdom, heard that prayer. He thundered at once out of his clear blue heavens high above the clouds, and Odysseus' spirit lifted. Which, hey, Zeus sending a little thunder crack there. It's a reminder. We're setting right bad Xenia. And that this is everything that's going to happen is not only divinely sanctioned and from way up on high, the highest of highs. Yeah, it's all good. Because let's also remember, again, Zeus, God associated with Xenia. So, like, makes it feel even better. But really, he's just like, you can't get any higher than the king of the gods. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, thank you. Thunder out of nowhere, it's a sign. Again, the portents gather. I know, it's physically impossible Odysseus could hear Penelope because she'd be way deeper in the palace. But he hears her. You know, they are each other. They are connected. You cannot beat these two. You cannot beat these two. Zeus being a homie. Zeus, man, once Odysseus gets home, Zeus really does roll up like a homie. He's like, yo, I made my girl a promise that she could that we could get this set right. And we know Athena's involved. Athena's favorite child is involved. You know he's paying attention, like, I'm gonna watch my girl cook. Oh, you need me to send? I can send you a sign. I can send you a sign. No problem. I got you. Anything for my favorite child who's down there working with you. It's not even that. Again, your love's so strong, even Zeus a homie. Look, Zeus can respect. Zeus can respect, but also, again, Athena. A lot of this is that, like, yes, it is divinely sanctioned, it is right, but I always love to make the joke. Let's remember who's the other god behind this. It's Athena, his favorite child, who can do no wrong even when she's in a coup against him. Yeah. Zeus being a homie there for us. Then, so that's part one. Remember, he said, I also want to hear something from within the halls. Yeah, this Zeus wearing those sunglasses while indoors, like, I got you, girl. Dad's got your back. Don't worry. But then from within the halls, a woman grinding grain let fly a lucky word. Close at hand she was, where the good commander set the hand mills once, and now 12 women in all performed their tasks, grinding the wheat and barley, marrow of men's bones. The rest were abed by now. They'd milled their stint. This one alone, the frailest of all, kept working on. Stopping her mill, she spoke an omen for her master. Zeus, father, king of gods and men, now there was a crack of thunder out of the starry sky, and not a cloud in sight. Sure, it's a sign you're showing someone now. So poor as I am, grant me my prayers well. Let this day be the last these suitors bolt their groaning feasts in King Odysseus' house. These brutes who break my knees, heart-wrenching labor, grinding their grain. Now let them eat their last. Which I'm like, love this little frail thing who's just grinding away. She's just like, fuck those guys. King Odysseus. Granted, we didn't really say how old She was exactly, I imagined her as younger, so I want to imagine she's never even met Odysseus, but she's like, anything's got to be better than these fuckers. A lucky omen, linked with Zeus's thunder. Odysseus' heart leapt up. The man, convinced he'd grind the scoundrels' lives out in revenge. By now, oh, Southern accents. We gotta do Southern accents for, we joked it because of the backwoods. So we do variations on a Southern accent. Now, when you get to Melanto, Melanthius, they sound like Hillbilly Hicks, and it's hella offensive. Yeah, see, her, we say definitely survives to the final act. She's loyal. We keep her. We keep you, unnamed milliner girl. We keep you. She's on our team, okay? We want her. By now, the other maids were gathering in Odysseus' royal palace, raking up on the hearth, the fire still going strong. Telemachus climbed from bed and dressed at once, brisk as a young god. Over his shoulder he slung his well-honed sword. He fastened rawhide sandals under his smooth feet. He seized his tough spear tipped with a bronze point, and took his stand at the threshold, calling Euryclea. Dear nurse, how did you treat the stranger in our house? With bed and board? Or leave him to lie unattended? That would be mother's way, sensible as she is, all impulse, doting over some worthless stranger, turning a good man out to face the worst. Please, child, his calm old nurse replied. Don't blame her. Your mother's blameless this time. He sat and drank his wine till he got his fill. Food? He lost his hunger. But she asked him, when it was time to think of turning in, she told the maids to spread a decent bed, but he, so down and out, poor soul, so dogged by fate, said no to snuggling in a bed between covers. No, sir, the man lay down in the entrance hall, on the raw hide of an ox and sheep's fleece. We threw a blanket over him, so we did. I love this, because now you have two people who know that is Odysseus, but don't necessarily know the other knows it's Odysseus. I mean, Telemachus clearly has no idea. Euryclea is probably not entirely sure if Telemachus knows. So it's just like, do you know what I know? Do you know what I know? Do we know what the other knows? Who knows what the other knows? But like, Telemachus has no reason to think that she knows, but she knows. We know, we did the whole Scar story. She immediately clacked Odysseus, and he was like, "No, lady, you can't give me away." Do you know I know that you know I know that you know? You know? Which is why I love that bit where it's just like, oh yes, poor soul, so dogged by fate. She's just like, yes, this poor soul. And Telemachus is probably like, yeah, no, poor guy. Poor guy, he couldn't possibly be anybody important. I love this bit. Oh, Euryclea is always gonna be... I just call her, I'm like, she's like to me chief housekeeper. 1, never mess with her. 2, you treat her well, which obviously she's been treated well since the time of Laertes. I mean, he's the one who essentially purchased her, brought her into the household. Of course she's loyal. Euryclea. Backbone of steel, this woman. Don't fuck with Euryclea. Did you get that thing I sent you? Did you get that thing? Oh yeah, it's like, so what do you know? You already know. I know exactly the Friends episode you're thinking of. So good. Hearing that, Telemachus strode out through the palace, spear in hand, and a pair of sleek hounds went trotting at his heels. Hounds, yes, dogs. What's interesting is we know a little about some dogs that, like breeds that may have potentially been around in this era. So there's a couple options. We're not entirely sure what kind of dogs these are. You can look up like Greek dog breeds and they'll bring you some where they're like, hey, here's some that have been around since XYZ. Here's some that are now extinct. Why the spear? Always the spear. You know why. Agnes? You know what? You know why the spear. We do stan Euryclea in this house. Argos babies? You know what? If we want that to be the headcanon, make that the damn headcanon. I've got no confirmation, but I want that to be the headcanon. I want to believe there are Argos babies. Argos puppies. The line continued. These great dogs. Oh, wait. Oh, Mariana, hold on. I will wait. Mariana's got an O. It's always good when Mariana's got an O. There is a Argoi. Oh my god, are they actually basic? Not even headcanon. Mariana can confirm. Argos puppies. These are Argos puppies. Oh my, hold on, I need to make it. This, obviously, I don't have the Greek. I never would have known. This must be written down. So we have Telemachus. My handwriting's gonna look like shit. Telemachus, hounds. What line was I at? No, they are not Argus. No, wait, no. Mariana, don't take this from me. Mariana, don't take this from me. No, Mariana, don't take this from me. Mariana, don't take this from me. No, Mariana, don't give me hope and then take it from me. Take it from all of us. It's gonna be my new headcanon. They are Kunes Argoi. Kunes Argoi. Is Kunes dog? I think canines. Mariana. So, okay. We were having a good time. Mariana, I will need you to explain. Yeah, no, everything must come to a halt. I mean, Argos means quick. Oh, so quick hounds. Could we maybe in our heads believe that's related to Argos? So the Argoi meaning good. Oh, like fast dogs rather than Argos related puppies. Shh. Could we maybe believe he chose the word Argoi for a reason? Is there another word he could have potentially used? In my heart, these will be Argos, but this will be my headcanon. I'm not sure if that means they are genetically related to Argos, but Homer... Okay, look, Homer makes the parallel. We're calling it. They're Argos. Not... He is. You know what? Homer does not pick words willy-nilly. We'll say not specifically labeled as genetic descendants of Argos. And I'm sure poetically, obviously, obviously poetically, they are the next gen of dogs. We get that. The poetic parallel, I get. But you chose Argoi for a reason, and we did just do the death of Argos. I want to believe, okay? This is all about parents and children, which, again, runs through. We've been doing father and son this whole time. Odysseus and Telemachus. Argos and the Argoi puppies. I'm going with it. But I will note, they are not technically labeled as that, but potential interpretation due to word choice. I'm writing in my really shitty cursive that's barely legible. There is potential Oof, that's bad even for me. Based on word choice. There has to be a reason. We are making it so. Mariana, you gave us great joy, almost took it from us, and the joy has returned. Thank you, Mariana. That was actually quite interesting. I agree with you. Homer does not choose his words lightly. As much as I sometimes love to bitch about interpretation, where I'm like, well, technically. So I say, technically, we're not saying they are. But we're doing a side eye while we're, we're not saying they are, but I'm not saying they are, but you know what I mean? Is that satisfactory, Mariana? Can we go that route? I'm going to go with that route where it's like, we're not saying they are, but. I mean, we're not saying they are. It's not technically. I'm so glad. Mariana seconds the motion, it passes. If we're ever fucking with the Greek, I will always be like, Mariana, I will turn to you, second my motion, or tell me I'm full of it. It is sold. They're not saying they are, but they are. Argos puppies, okay? We're going with it. Obviously, again, like I say, poetically, in a poetic parallel sense, where this is all about moving into the next gen, moving into the new world, if you will, it would make sense. We're poetically bringing in these new hounds as they are like Argos was to Odysseus. He's passed the puppy torch. Excellent. Court adjourned. Motion is passed. Sleek hounds trotting at his heels. He made for the meeting grounds to join the island lords, while Euryclea, the daughter of Ops, Pisenor's son, that best of women. Euryclea, we stand Euryclea in this house. I love that Homer just makes it clear. By the way, she is the goat. Just in case you didn't know, Euryclea is our goat. Gave the maids their orders. Quick now, look alive, sweep out the house, wet down the floors, get your shit done. Even Homer's like, best girl. Mm-hmm. Yo, Euryclea, she's our goat. She's our goat in this house. It's like, damn right she is the best of women. We love her. You, those purple coverlets, fling them over the fancy chairs. Purple, obviously we've talked many times about how we don't really have words for hue. Greeks think of color in terms of light and dark. Even when they're talking about other people's skin color, think all the way back to book 1 with aitiops, meaning just of burnt face, which is their way of saying, damn, you tan compared to me. So, purple. If we were to believe, like, let's say, whatever word they're using is actually signifying something that is in the shade range of purple. They got some purple. Maybe not a lot, but they got some. They purple rich. We know how purple, that color, there's a famous, if you will, color called Tyrian purple. Comes from the area of a place called Tyre. Now, the people of Tyre eventually become known as the Phoenicians because those are the people because people from Tyre go and settle Carthage, and specifically those settlers who go to like Carthage kind of get known as the Phoenicians. Now, Tyrian purple, it's a very specific pigment, if you will, which even we're not entirely sure how exactly they made it, and we don't even know exactly what the shade of Tyrian purple looked like, or even if it was one single exact shade, because obviously the way you make something, even if you use the same process, especially if you're doing it by hand, can differ. The shade might change. Yeah, they're mollusks. I think they're snails, but they're mollusks. We'll say that at least. Mollusks, snails. And you have to get them to like squirt something out and you crush them up. It takes so many of these things to make even a small bit of pigment. There is a guy, there's a great video you can find online. There's a guy who actually does his best, essentially, to recreate that process, best that he thinks it would have gone, to make essentially Tyrian purple. This pigment is so beyond a luxury good. It is a luxury good. Like, the idea of a luxury good absolutely exists in anything that was dyed this color, luxury good. It's why, especially when you hit the Roman era, having purple anywhere on your clothing, they had rules about who could wear purple, how much you were allowed to wear. And then eventually, especially when you start getting to the point of like the imperial family. But obviously this ricochets all the way down through the ages to even think of like medieval era or whatever, where they're just like purple. It signifies royalty. It signifies all these things. It is insanely difficult to make because you have to use so many of this creature to make even a teeny bit of pigment. It's a very labor and time intensive process. It smells terrible. The stench is insane, which is why a lot of these sort of dye factories, or factories, these dyers and these people who are making that dye, that color, are like often like on the coast. They're like kind of on the edge of town. They're not hanging out in the middle of the city because the smell is horrendous. And they purple snails rich. Oh, yeah. So it's the fact that this is an occasion. We are bringing out the good shit, which just tells you something special's about to happen. So, okay, the funniest, I did not notice the page turned back to book 17, but the line about Telemachus going about with the spear and 2 Argoi dogs is the same. Book 17. Oh, is that when we, no, that's not Eumaeus. Book 17, which one was book 17? Father and son. Oh yeah, Stranger at the Gates. Yeah, when Odysseus first rolls up. Love that. We love poetic parallels. Yeah, they can't be farmed either. There's a lot of serious loys on it. laws on it. It is extremely insane. So the guy who does it, like, he keeps within all of that. And I remember watching the process going, that's bonkers. I can understand why it's so expensive. Again, the amount of work you have to go through to do it. It's the same way when people talk about, if you're anybody who's in the art world knows, another color that's extremely prized, another pigment, is ultramarine, which is made from lapis lazuli and is a very difficult process to do and to get it right, which is why if you get proper ultramarine that is made from lapis lazuli, the effect it has is different than obviously now we can sort of make sort of synthetic ultramarine, which is really pretty. It's a gorgeous color. Like, I've got some gouache and I've got ultramarine in there. I know it's not made with lapis lazuli because it absorbs light, versus that old like properly made ultramarine, which will cost you an arm and a leg to get a tiny amount. It reflects light, which is why if you look at older art, especially like from the medieval period or whatever, or the Renaissance, if they are using ultramarine, it's really, the blue is just bright. It reflects the light in a way that's so startling. It also means if you are in art and you are using proper ultramarine, like again with the lapis lazuli where you probably paid through the nose for it, it actually increases the value of your work because you're using such an expensive pigment. Anyway, it is very associated with the art of the Virgin Mary. You are absolutely correct. At the beginning, Game Wizard, yeah, 62. Okay. I was going to say, hold on, I'm briefly flipping. I want to see that line in 17 right at the start. So I think I know exactly what line you're talking about. Pick up the rugged spear to fit his... Yeah. The farm bird starts walking to... Yep. Yep, found that. Nice. There's a reason there's a royal purple. There's a reason purple is royal. Again, a lot of, especially these pigments that are hard to make and hard to come by, yeah, they get expensive, especially back in the day. It wasn't the same as Tyrian. Yeah, the Tyrian purple, that particular shade, or probably slight range of shades, because, you know, however they get made. There might be slight personal differences in them between who's making them and all that. That particular shade was something very unique. Again, we're not even sure if it actually was kind of purple. It could have leaned more blue for all we know. We just know that it was top dollar prized. Not red. Red is a lot easier to make because there's plenty of things in nature that can help you get that color red. Purple is harder. It's way harder. Same with blue. Blue is a lot harder. But yeah, no, red is not the most royal. It is purple for the longest time back into antiquity. It is purple. Now, of course, granted, what culture, like between cultures, hey, maybe they've got a difference, but a lot of, especially Western Europe, if you will, a lot of that, the classical world that we think of, Greece and Rome, whatever, purple is the color of like royalty, if you will, or status, we should say, in class. Because you can even get it when you're talking about like patricians in Rome and those particular senatorial classes and stuff. They might be able to have like a purple stripe on their toga and what have you. But again, very specific fashion rules, like almost laws, basically. Purple is the Heracles of color. First time reader, I recommend Fagel's, this one that we're reading. If you are good with poetry, like, and I mean leaning into the poetry of it and the floweriness of it, you can go with Fitzgerald. But those are the two I recommend. In Japan, it was also purple too. Yeah, purple is the Heracles of color. But milk tea, that is, I would say, Fagel's, which is the one that we're reading here. But if you are used to reading lots of poetry and like the very poetic angle, I would then say Robert Fitzgerald is also great. I love him. I just worried he was a little too poetic for what we were doing here. Anyway, yeah, Floyd Wilson liked the play. God, yeah, please don't read Emily Wilson. Please don't read Emily Wilson. God, please don't. It's not a good translation. God, you're welcome. Plus, purple, red, blue, black all require tons of pigment. It's true, yeah. It requires a lot to do even a little. That's why they get so expensive. Agnes, please. Anyway, our whole tangent on purple aside. Where the heck was I? Oh yeah, we're talking about purple. Purple coverlets, flinging them over the fancy oh, we're even getting out the fancy chairs too. Again, we're making a whole event here. We're going to be setting up the challenge. It's going to be a whole event. It's going to be great. It's a complicated translation. It's a witch, not good translation. She made choices. They weren't very good choices. All those tables, sponge them down. Scour the wine bowls, burnished cups, the rest. Now you off. Go to the spring, fetch some water, fast as your legs can run. Our young gallants won't be long from the palace. They'll be bright and early. Today's a public feast. I did pick a great shirt for the purple discussion day. I know, I didn't even mean to. To be fair, Nancy, no judgment on having the Wilson. Look, she got touted. Everybody goes for it. And I'm just like, I wouldn't recommend. Even my grandfather wouldn't recommend. That says something. Because he wasn't totally hateful on her. I have a stronger opinion, I think, than my grandfather does on her translations. He says, they're fine, but they don't satisfy. That was, I think, pretty much how he summed it up. He was like, it's okay, but it doesn't satisfy. For him, he would say Fitzgerald, but I fully recognize that as first-time readers, Fitzgerald leaning into the poetry of it might be difficult for some people. I love it, would never say it's bad, I adore it. It and Fagles tied for different reasons for me. But I think Fagles is just like that wee bit more accessible because he keeps the poetry to a degree, but not in the way that Fitzgerald does. We on the fancy chairs with the purple, I know. Get the good purple covers, fancy chair, white cheddar popcorn. Let's see here, Bridgewood. I think from the formation of the Republic until the formation of the only generals under Triumph were allowed to wear purple in Rome. Fully purple, I believe. Yes, they had some rules about others. Again, I had to learn about all the different togas. This was so many years ago that I don't remember. My grandmother say that is scathing. I love the white cheddar popcorn. Get the good shit. Now get the good olive oil. Get the good wine. Make sure the bread is fresh. Is Wilson's Iliad or Odyssey worse? I've seen more of her Odyssey, so I might have to say Odyssey, but I don't know. What bits I have seen of either have left me wanting to throw things. So... yeah, I will say the Fagles version, especially if you buy it in print, has so much extra material. Like, it literally has almost 100 pages, basically, of maps. I mean, just in the front. Maps, an introduction. This is written by Bernard Knox, who's a great classicist, and he tries to give you a lot of just kind of like tons of information all at once to get an understanding a bit of the culture and the time. You have glossaries of names and potentially how to pronounce them, you know, good indexes, the footnotes are good. Like, there's a lot of, I mean, when you're gonna do an edition of this, like, have all the good extra stuff. Which I think adds. Now keep up the Rage Bait collection. What part are we? We are on line, like, 175-ish. We don't speak of her Odyssey translation. She did things. She did things of which I do not approve. And she has attitudes towards translation that I frankly think are harmful. I've read her thoughts on translation, and I do actually think they're harmful. And they, like, nobody should go into translating with that kind of a thought process. But that's just me. Anywho, we know today's a public feast. They hurried on her words and ran to do her bidding. Well, at least they listened to her, as they fucking should. Full 20 scurried off to the spring's dark water. Others bent to the housework, all good hands. Then in they trooped, the strutting serving men who split the firewood cleanly, now as the women bustled in from the spring, the swineherd at their heels, driving 3 fat porkers, the best of all his herds, and leaving them to root in the broad courtyard. Up he went to Odysseus, hailed him warmly. Friend, do the suitors show you more respect or treat you like the dregs of the earth as always? Good Eumaeus, the crafty man replied. If only the gods would pay back their outrage. Wild and reckless young cubs, conniving here in another's house. They've got no sense of shame. Yeah, anxiety tea leaves, she tried to claim that. It's great. The strutting serving men, I know, just imagine them all just like bronzed, oiled, walking through like, that's right, no, that's right, we're in, don't worry. I know, the image is great. I love the imagery. Yeah, she did things, she said, a wide smile just barely covering a simmering rage. Eye twitching at the thought. Yes, exactly. And now as the two confided in each other, the goat-herd Melanthius sauntered towards them, herding his goats with a pair of drovers' help, the pick of his flocks to make the suitors' meal. Under the echoing porch he tethered these, then turned on Odysseus once again with cutting insults. Still alive? Still hounding your betters? Begging around the house? Why don't you cart yourself away? Get out! We'll never part, I swear, till we taste each other's fists. Riff-raff. You and your begging make us sick. Get out! We're hardly the only banquet on the island. Yes, Melanthius deserves the terrible voice because fuck Melanthius. He's going to get his just remember, he's going to suffer. Deliciously terribly. No reply. The wily one just shook his head, silent, his mind churning with thoughts of bloody work. Third to arrive was Philetius. Philetius? The OEs always throw me off. I think it's Philetius. Whatever. That good cowherd, prodding in for the crowd a heifer and fat goats. Boatmen had brought them over from the mainland, crews who ferry across all travelers too, whoever comes for passage. Under the echoing porch he tethered all heads well, and then approached the swineherd, full of questions. Who's the stranger, you mays? Just come to the house. What roots does the man claim? Who are his people? Where are his blood kin? His father's fields? Poor beggar. But what a build! Royal kings. Once the gods weave trouble into our lives, they drive us across the earth. Drown us all in pain, even kings of the realm. We love Philetius. He's cool. Love the fact that he's just like, man, who's this poor dude? Damn, he thick! That's literally, he just had a moment of that. He's just like, poor dude, where's this guy from dressed like a beggar? Do you see them thighs? It's like, okay, but he built. And what I think is great is we see Philetius, I don't know how to say his name. The OEs throw me off every time. Like Eumaeus, we have another man who seems probably a Dolos, seems, he works land, the fields, and has stayed potentially loyal to Odysseus. I love the idea that, he's good old, damn boy, you take. He's noticing things, which is a good sign. Him noticing off the jump, especially in contrast to Melanthius, who we just met. And, we've met him before and we hate him. You can't sit with us. Philetius, you can sit with us. Because he notices things. And these are the good, you could say almost like the common man, the common worker, who's working the fields, kind of more unspoiled, you could say, even by palace life, These are the good people. We have good people. We're getting both people who serve who are good and people who serve who are shite, which we love. Does anyone know? Homer's sexuality was thighs. Homer was likely not even a real person. And it is, I will say this, I'm going to talk, when we do the Iliad, I'll have to talk about this more. There are no words you can really use to describe the sexuality of ancient peoples, because their understanding of sexuality and sex and sexual attraction was so radically and fundamentally different from what we understand now. Trying to put modern labels on these people from the past, I personally don't think it's a good exercise. Now, up to you. You do you. Generally, I don't think it's a good idea because you can't really use the modern labels to describe what they are because they're not really going to fit. Because again, the understanding culturally was so different. And even the practices were so different. Isn't a guest asking a guest a lot of questions? No. Well, he's not asking a guest. He's asking Eumaeus. So that's a thing. And also, this is not his house. He, like Eumaeus, is a Dolos of this house. So he's like, yo, have you met this guy? Who's this guy? He's asking Eumaeus if he just knows who he is. Right? So Xenia's not really in play right here. But good question, Agnes. Even Athena's illusion ain't enough to cover those thighs. It's pronounced Philetius. Okay, that's what I thought. But then I always get thrown by the OE and I'm like, oh, is it supposed to be E? Thank you, Philetius. That's what I thought. Thigh sexuality, yeah. That's why a lot of beggars quit. Too many sweats. But yeah, no, I guess it's a good question. But yeah, it doesn't really apply here. He's just going like, yo, Eumaeus, what's the skinny on this guy? Haven't met him before. Do you know him? Like, especially given it seems that this guy with his herds is more on the mainland and has to basically, you could say almost like take a ferry. Which we know, we've established, they have some lands on the mainland, but not much. So he's a little less like, so what exactly is going on? Like, what have I missed? Like, I'm here, but not as often as Eumaeus, who lives on the island proper and is like very attached to the household. And with that thought, he walked up to Odysseus, gave him his right hand, and winged a greeting. Cheers, old friend, old father. Here's to your luck. Great days from this day on. Settled now as you are, with so much trouble. Father Zeus, no god's more deadly than you. No mercy for them. You give them life yourself, then plunge them into misery. Brutal hardship. I broke into sweat, my friend, when I first saw you. See, my eyes still brim with tears, remembering him. Odysseus. Ugh, he must wear such rags, I know it. Knocking about, drifting through the world. If he's still alive, sees the light of day. If he's dead already, lost in the house of death, my heart aches for Odysseus, my great lord and master. So yeah, Philœtius is good people. He went there with Eumaeus and Euryclea. He good people. We like Philœtius. So we're just like, yes. Yes, that's it. Philœtius can sit with us. He set me in charge of his herds in Cephalenian country when I was just a youngster. How they've grown now, past counting. No mortal on earth could breed a finer stock of oxen. Broad in the bow. They thrive like ears of corn. But just look. These interlopers. Tell me to drive them in for their own private feasts. Not a thought for the young prince in the house. They never flinch. No regard for the gods' wrath in their mad rush to carve up his goods. My master's so long gone. I'm tossed from horn to horn in my mind. What a traitor I'd be with the prince still alive if I'd run off to some other country, herds and all, to a new set of strangers. But isn't it worse to hold out here, tending the herds for upstarts, not their owners, suffering all the pains of hell? I mean, honestly, what did I miss? Yeah, he literally came in like, what I miss? But I think, he makes an interesting point where he's just like, like, I get torn. Like, part of me just wants to just fucking dip, just leave. I mean, he's based, obviously, in Cephalenian country. He's based on the mainland. He's just like, fuck it. He's like, but I shouldn't. And he hasn't. He's loyal. He's a good dude. Love is love by fate, the narrative. Love it. See, this is why Phil can sit with us. Phil can sit with us. I could have fled ages ago. Some great king who'd give me shelter. It's unbearable here. True. But I still dream of my old master. Unlucky man. Ugh! If only he'd drop in from the blue and drive these suitors all in a rout throughout the halls. Wait, his name is Plot Armor? We love him. Again, we love Phil. I love him rolling in just like, man, what's up? Man, fuck these guys, right? Like, ugh. It's like, what's up, newbie? Let me tell you, don't fuck with these guys. Honestly, just keep it up. We fuck with Phil. Phil can sit with us. Cowherd. Oh, sorry. I have to do his old man voice. Cowherd. Cool tactician, Odysseus answered. You're no coward. Nobody's fool, I'd say. Even I can see there's sense in that old head. So I tell you this on my solemn binding oath. I swear by Zeus, the first of all the gods, by the table of hospitality waiting for us, by Odysseus' hearth where I have come for help. Odysseus will come home while you're still here. You'll see it with your own eyes. If you have the heart, these suitors who lord it here, cut down in blood. Oh my God. The whole monologue references a monologue of Odysseus in the Iliad where he thinks about staying in the fight or leave. Ah! Oh my God, I know the monologue you need. Man, Homer and his parallels. He's so good. Him and Argos. Now, him and Eumaeus. Phil and Eumaeus just like chilling there being like, that's what, no, we fuck with our homeboy, okay? We do not skimp on our homeboy, okay? We know who our boss is and we like our boss. Again, we have this thing where they talk about it's like, he was as good a king as, a father, being good to his children kind of thing. But we've also seen he's had the example of Laertes and Anticlea, who we've been given evidence of how good they were as rulers and owners of their lands and their dolos or doloi, I think would be the plural, and everything else. Odysseus learned from that, saw it firsthand, learned what it, and seems to have followed on in that. So we're just like, fuck yeah. Which just means all the people who are disloyal, screw them. Also, I'm Team House Odysseus, so screw the disloyal people. Stranger, if only, the cowherd cried out. If only Zeus would make that oath come true. You'd see my power, my fighting arms in action. Eumaeus echoed his prayer to all the gods that their wise king would soon come home again. Now, as they spoke and urged each other on, and once more, the suitors were plotting certain doom for the young prince because they never fucking learn. Suddenly, banking high on the left, an omen flew past. An eagle, clutching a trembling dove. And Amphinomus rose in haste to warn them all. My friends, we'll never carry off this plot to kill the prince. Let's concentrate on feasting. Of course he says that. That's a terrible fucking idea. He's like, this is a bad idea. Just like it's been a bad idea before. And oh look, an omen. I don't think it's in our favor. Let's just eat. This is a terrible idea. Again, the suitors are constantly trying to come up with terrible ideas. And Amphinomus knows how to read the way the river's flowing. He's just like, not in our favor, let's not. He does say, as always, look, if Zeus wills it. So if he gets a sign it's in his favor, he would do it. No, Agnes. No. No. Down. Yeah, he's a schemer, not a moron. It's like you could not even you could go home. You could have gone home. Let's remember 3 years. Non-stop. Non-stop. Anyway. His timely invitation pleased them all. I guess they were feeling peckish. The suitors ambled into Odysseus's royal house and flinging down their cloaks on a chair or bench, they butchered hulking sheep and fatted goats, full-grown hogs, and a young cow from the herd. They roasted all the innards, served them round, and filled the bowls with wine and mixed it well. Eumaeus passed out cups. Phloetius, trusty herdsman, brought on loaves of bread in ample wicker trays. Melanthius poured the wine. The whole company reached out for the good things that lay at hand. He did not save the prince's life, Agnes. Not even doing that was my first thought. It's like, not even doing sacrifices for gods? They just get more sacrilegious as the day goes on. I mean, good God. That is super bad form. This is, we're not even in bad form. That's basically sacrilege. And I would like to note, Agnes, Amphinomus is participating in this, so your boy is sacrilegious here. You'd set nothing aside for the gods? What you thinking? Well, they're not, apparently. They're more animal than the food they're eating. They are. It's true. They really are. Telemachus, maneuvering shrewdly, sat his father down on the stone threshold just inside the timbered hall, and set a rickety stool and cramped table there. He gave him a share of innards, poured his wine in a golden cup, and added a bracing invitation. Now, sit right here. Drink your wine with the crowd. I'll defend you from all their taunts and blows, these young bucks. This is no public place. This is Odysseus's home. My father won it for me, so it's mine. You suitors, control yourselves. No insults now, no brawling, no. Or it's war between us all. Telemachus starting to lay down the law a little bit, okay? So he declared. And they all bit their lips, amazed the prince could speak with so much daring. They're all like, well, that's new. Only Eupeithes' son, Antinous, ventured, fighting words, but let's knuckle under to our prince. Such abuse, such naked threats. But clearly Zeus has foiled us, or long before. He would have shut his mouth for him in the halls, fluent and flowing as he is. Okay, I have to note the irony of what Antinous just said. He's invoking Zeus because Zeus is the god associated with Xenia. Like, the thing is, it's like, bruh, what you just said is not having the effect that you think it just said. He's trying to be like, oh, Telemachus, how dare you threaten us in their halls? It's just like, look around. Like, bruh. It's just further emphasizing the Xenia violation, but also the sacrilege, like everything he's doing wrong. Yeah, the line in which in the words of Cicero, the unbridled audacity of this hoe. Like, and again, especially since we already know Zeus is 100% on Odysseus' side. He has also just sent an omen. And he sent an omen in book 2. Like, he's so on the side of the house of Odysseus, and everything has been smacking the suitors in the face to make that clear. And it's just, Antinous, are you fucking kidding me here? Bruh. Like, shut up. No, Agnes. He never would. He's not going to. And where one guy shoots another and then turns to the camera, it's like, why would that happen to me? Antinous is extremely not self-aware. It's like, oh my god, are you kidding me? I always read that bit, I'm just like, the fucking irony of everything he just said. It's what they call a cruel irony. And we're going to love it. Like, for us, we're just like, did that hoe really just say that? Like, I can imagine an audience just being like, bitch, he did not just try to invoke Zeus of that. Like, what? Like, you hear this hoe? Like, oh my god. Which is why he is infuriating. Exactly. Well, it's why they're all infuriating. Because all of them have been seeing the same signs. They've all been given the same information, yet they're all doing the same goddamn thing they shouldn't be doing. And let's remember, they've been doing this for 3, in some cases 5, but we'll go with, I think the Odyssey specifies it's 3. 3 years, every single day without fail, without let up. We are so beyond the point that any of them could potentially be saved. Because when we roll up, it's set in stone that they're fucked. Because their behavior is so inexcusable. We're past the point of inexcusable. Whatever point is past that, we're at that. The West Wing Death Row episode. Bart looking for a sign from God what to do, and the priest giving the story about the guy who ignores the sign about the flood. Yeah, literally, it's like, bruh, I sent you like a rowboat, a helicopter, and what have you, and it's just like, and I can imagine they've been getting signs essentially for 3 straight years. They've just ramped up in intensity and frequency by this point. Like, come on. He's arrogant, although I don't know. I will say, Nancy, Eurymachus is even worse, because Eurymachus is, I call him a snake oil salesman. He's also like rich, white, moneyed, like Ivy League boy. Like, you know the type I mean? That to me is Eurymachus, and I'm just like, oh my god. And he thinks he's being so smooth and so slick, but you're just like, I can literally scrape the oil off of everything you just said. It's like, ugh. Rip the suitors, you would have loved skywriting. That's good, I like that. There's that. No, Amphinomus is not clear. Amphinomus is the most terrifying of all of them because he's the psychopath. He's the conniving, scheming psychopath who's literally only surface level. There's nothing below. He is just shallow, reflecting, mirroring, masking at everybody. And it's just like, he's on no one's side but his own, and it's terrifying. New England old money aristocracy. Yeah, that's Eurymachus. And Amphinomus is like Ted Bundy. Like, I have no other way to describe him. Like, Amphinomus is Ted Bundy. Like, that very surface level, like, can be, like, air quotes, charming, is sort of mimicking human emotions, but it's just, like, the eyes are dead. He's a snake. He is Ted Bundy. You know what I mean when I say that. Like, you can get the image of that behavior, and it's like, that's Amphinomus. He's Ted Bundy. Yeah, and a weird cult of people who think he's hot. Yeah, all of the women who would show up knowing he'd murdered tons of people. Agnes. Zeus could roll up and the suitors still would just think it's full of shit. Again, at this point, we've watched, they didn't even put a serving aside for the gods. We're in full sacrilegious territory, which is like really ironic when you figure out. Because remember, Eurycleia mentioned this is a public feast day. There's a reason it's a feast day, and we find out it's gonna be like, God, the irony is hitting even harder. This isn't a Huber spell. This is an irony gong that we're bashing. Yes, Falco, exactly. Anyway. Pretty privilege was rampant. Oh, I know. It's not even just pretty privilege, it's... Well, yeah, no, I guess it kind of is. Anyway. So he mocked Telemachus. Oh, if the laws of the land allowed him to kill Penelope to get the throne, he'd do it without hesitation, wouldn't he? Amphinomus? Yeah, I think he would. If he could do that and there would be no downside for him and he could seize it, I absolutely think he would. Yeah, I think he would. He would scheme and figure it out. He'd probably find a way to make it look like an accident. It's an interesting counterfactual, but you know. Oh, sorry, Mama. Anyway, Telemachus ain't taking the bait on that. And now through the streets the heralds passed, leading the beasts marked out for sacrifice on Apollo's grand festal day. And the islanders with their long hair were filling into the gods' shady grove, the distant, deadly archer. When I said it's an irony gong, bash, bang, bang. We are banging the irony gong for all it is worth. Apollo's grand festal day. It's a very auspicious, very significant coinky-dink that the archery contest, which will bring about the deaths of the suitors and the reinstatement of Odysseus in his own home, is taking place on the festival of Apollo, the archer god. Yeah, we're beyond the Huber spell. This is irony gong. That's what I'm going for here. I also think, as I was noting in my notes, I said it could also be seen as an irony, given, we mentioned earlier, I can't remember what book it was, but it was back there in one of my sets of notes, that Apollo, in one of his many things under his purveyance, if you will, is a protector of young men and youth. But again, I think that also gives us the sense of just how gravely the suitors have sinned, such that essentially all these gods have completely forsaken them. Every single one. Nobody is stepping in for this. Nobody. And again, the great irony, we're on the deadly archer. We're on Apollo's festal day, and then we're going to have the challenge with the 12 axes, which makes even more sense that she would suddenly propose it also on this festal day of Apollo, right? And it's going to be how Odysseus, as a deadly archer, will retake his throne. I think also we add a lot of archery, especially with Apollo and Artemis. Whenever they kill people with archery, as long as we're not doing the metaphor of the arrows being like illness, which happens a lot, especially with Apollo, it's often described in terms of hunting. Odysseus is going to be hunting these suitors. Now we have put these suitors and shown them in such a light with their actions and their words, but really their actions, that they are kind of subhuman. They are less than human. They do, again, they've been forsaken by all the gods by this point. In addition, we just had that moment where they didn't even cut apart a bit to sacrifice to the gods when they were slaughtering all these animals. It was like, bro, where's the bit for the gods? You always have to have the bit put aside for the gods. You didn't do it. They've been violating Xenia. They've been violating all... And again, Xenia is so important. It's the one moral through line, if you will, that is in every bit of the Odyssey. It's the one constant in the whole thing. So their behavior, again, is just like, bruh. And again, it's been going on for 3 years. Like, we're so past the point that it's out of line. We hit the point of out of line 3 years ago. That we're setting all of this up to just have all of essentially the irony of just like, oh, you're so screwed. Here are all the signs telling you you're about to be so screwed in a beautifully ironic, poetic sense, because that is how badly you have sinned. That is how badly you have violated these laws that make us, you know, especially in the later days, they would say that make us the Hellenes, that make us these Greek-speaking people, that make us who we are. How dare you? You deserve to be shot down like beasts, for that is what you are. You know? Does this make sense? We're seeing all of the, again, we're ringing the irony gong. We're sounding the divine punishment tornado siren. We are bringing it all in. It's all coming down to bear upon their heads. Yeah, it's Apollo's feastal day and they didn't give an offering to the gods. Do they want Tartarus? I mean, we're not quite at that level. At this point, they almost can't even do much things. I mean, they could, but let's say, for sake of argument, there's very little they could do that was worse, because, I mean, at this point also, they're doomed to die. The doom has already come. Like, as we say, portents gather. At this point, everything is just converging upon the inevitable, which is going to be Odysseus wrecking their shit. And we love it. When I say, again, Homer likes to put all his ducks in a row. He likes to build you towards the tension. We've been hanging with Odysseus in this undercover mission, seeing what's going on. And now we're even bringing in the divine element to really bring it home. By the way, this is going to be so satisfying when it happens, and it's right. You know, like we are setting things to rights. The Banshee cry has been shrieked, but they were deaf to its meaning. Yes. Also, loved you mentioned Banshee. I've been doing research on them. Looking up like that one meme as Odysseus descends with Zeus mandated divine wrath. Oh, like I say, when we get to the point when the slaughter kicks off, it's so absurdly dramatic. There will be drama, thunder, and lightning, and it's just like, Homer is driving us there. He's going to earn. We will earn that moment of Aristeia from Odysseus. We're just building to the final pieces are being laid. So good. So good. Anyway. Those in the palace, once they'd roasted the prime cuts, pulled them off the spits, and sharing out the portions, fell to the royal feast. Again, how dare you not put those out for the gods? What the fuck are you doing? The men who served them gave Odysseus his share, as fair as the helping they received themselves. So Telemachus ordered, the king's own son. But Athena had no mind to let the brazen suitors hold back now from their heart-rending insults. She meant to make the anguish cut still deeper into the core of Laertes' son Odysseus. Now, this may seem like, what the fuck, Athena? Remember, she's been watching, he's a pressure cooker. He's been turning up the pressure and on himself. He's getting angry. She needs him at that point of absolute, perfectly primed, deadly explosion, which is what we're going to get to. So she's making sure he's going to be in exactly the right frame of mind, exactly that right level of just like, think like blue flame. Like we're hitting for the hottest rage, but it's going to be very precise and honed. It's going to be so deadly. So she's making sure he's going to be at that point. Again, Kadie, the heart of emotion. I love it. Yeah, preheat your Greek hero. Yeah, we're literally preheating the Greek hero oven. We're making sure. There was one among them, a lawless boor. Ctesippus was his name. He made his home in Same, a fellow so impressed with his own astounding wealth, He courted the wife of Odysseus, gone for years, which frankly explains most of them. Now remember, Same, this is where Eurylochus was from, who had married Odysseus' sister. Ooh, have fun at D&D. Oh, hi, Sir Joe. Anyway, let's see. Now the man harangued his swaggering comrades. Listen to me, my fine friends. Here's what I say. From the start, our guest has had his fair share. It's only right, you know. How impolite it would be, how wrong to scant whatever guest Telemachus welcomes to his house. Look here. I'll give him a proper guest gift, too. A prize he can hand to the crone who bathes his feet, or a tip for another slave who haunts the halls of our great king, Odysseus. On that note, grabbing an ox hoof out of a basket where it lay, with a brawny hand, he flung it straight at the king. You think they would learn to stop throwing shit at Odysseus' head? But no! Yeah, I know, his riches, it's his father's riches. I know. Seriously, Mariana, I'm with you. They are all those, like, second-gen wealth, like, basically. Or, like, they didn't have to work for it. It's all theirs. They wheeled it around. It's like, bitch, you didn't earn shit. Who do you think you are? And again, they are all so inferior to Odysseus. Yeah, the audacity. Again, the unbridled audacity. Thank you, Cicero, for that phrase, of these hoes. Who makes me want to be there watching it in person? Oh, yeah. Literally, that's what Homer's doing. He's building up, so you were just like... So that not only are we getting Odysseus to the right point, but we're getting the audience who's listening primed. Like Homer would want his, you know, if we say he's a real person or a bard who's reciting the tale, you want the audience frothing at the mouth. You want us, the audience, just being like, fucking kill these guys. He's ramping the audience up as much as we're ramping Odysseus up. These Nepo babies thinking they earned their place real seriously. These are all Nepo babies with daddy's money. And it's like, well, some of them are actually rogues. We know there's one set where it's like some dude and his dad are there. So like there are a couple who aren't Nepo babies. But the Nepo babies are the worst. These ones here. But Odysseus ducked his head a little, dodging the blow, and seething just as the ox hoof hit the solid wall. Also, I want to add, talking about the crone who bathes his feet, don't you speak on Euryclea like that. Don't you speak on our girl like that. Best of women. You don't talk shit about Euryclea in this house. I want none of that from you, motherfucker. I'm ready for him to die. I'm ready for them all to die, but like, how dare you say anything about Euryclea other than she is our badass goat? So they know he's Odysseus and they think they can just kill him? No, they don't know he's Odysseus. They think he's an old beggar. That's why they're chucking shit at him. He's lesser than them. They're essentially punching down. I know, yeah. Right now, Odysseus is just rearranging who's dying in what order. Every tongue that rises against Euryclea shall fall. It's so true. And seething just as the ox hoof hit the solid wall, he clenched his teeth in a wry, sardonic grin. You know that grin is just like, I'm fucking killing you at least second. Telemachus dressed Ctesippus down at once. Ctesippus, you can thank your lucky stars. You missed our guest. He ducked your blow, by God, else I would have planted my sharp spear in your bowels. Your father would have been busy with your funeral, not your wedding here. Enough. Don't let me see. Oh, it's Sardonian in Greek too. I'm guessing it's the same. Oh, the root is sardonic. Yes. Wry sardonic grin. I just imagine that as Odysseus' resting bitch face is just wry sardonic grin. Enough. Don't let me see more offenses in my house. Not from anyone. I'm alive to it all now. The good and the bad. The boy you knew is gone. But I must still bear this lovely sight. Sheep flocks butchered, wine swilled, food squandered. How can a man fight off so many single-handed? But no more of your crimes against me, please. Unless you're bent on cutting me down now. And I'd rather die, yes. Better that by far than have to look on at your outrage day by day. Guests treated to blows. Men dragging the serving women through our noble house, exploiting them all, no shame. Now, men dragging the serving women through our noble house, exploiting them all. We've known that the maids who we're going to be discussing later went off on their own volition. They were not dragged. In terms of dragging through the halls, they likely mean ordering them around. Reverting to some kind of essay in this context, again, this is a level that even the suitors will not go to. Yeah, they won't do it to Penelope. And yes, these women are tholoi. They are servants of Odysseus. But to do that to them is to bring dishonor upon Odysseus and upon even Penelope in the house. They're pretty careful with the servants, we see. As long as you... now, unless Mariana can tell me something about the Greek that I'm missing here. I've never taken this to mean something like essay. To me, it's been like physically dragging them around, ordering them around, basically exploiting the fact that they're there and will do your bidding. And when you're hosting basically feasts like this all the time, almost every day, day in, day out, yeah, you're exploiting and abusing these servants. Because they have no choice, really. Because Penelope has no choice. Yeah, dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. And it's essentially, you're a bully. He's calling them out for being bullies. You're bullying the people beneath you. Because what line are we on? Like 355? Because he says even prior to that, guests treated to blows. And then dragging this, he's talking about you're abusing the people who are lesser than you. You're bullies. You suck. I have had enough. He's had enough. They are the definition of dishonor. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cows. Oh, good night, Dizzy. It's physically dragging them. Same verb used for dragging of the tomb of... Okay, that's what I thought. I figured that's what it was. I'm like, I'm not getting, like... I was like, I think, like, literally just physically dragging them around, which is rough and terrible behavior. You would have to be careful, because as much as, again, these are not, especially the women would be seen essentially as property, this is not property in the same as livestock where you can just kill them. You'll get in trouble for this. These are still humans. Rough handling. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Dragging someone around. I know. Hey, bad behavior. It happens. Again, they're bullies. They physically bully the people who are beneath them. Now, again, I want to contrast this with the maids who left giggling and willingly in the night on their own volition, left the house to go sleep with the suitors elsewhere. Outside the house, off the property. That's their own choice. Not what we're talking about here. There's violence for sure. Now, what kind of violence? Yeah, you know, but, and Mariana, the reason I say I'm not entirely sure, I think it's just because we've seen that kind of violence. We saw it with Calypso to Odysseus. You know, it's made so clear, even in the Greek. I mean, and it translates very obviously. So the fact that we're being vague about it here, when if it were what was happening, Homer would want to be so explicit about it. Because again, we're building up how fucking awful these guys are. We are riling the listener, we're riling Odysseus. You know, Telemachus is fucking fed up. He's not stupid. I think it would just be so clear. And the wording would have made it even more explicit. Again, we've said Homer picks his words carefully. That's my only reasoning. Again, I could be off base. But I also do think it is also a contrast to the disloyal maids who go on their own volition, giggling and happily out of the palace to go see the suitors at night when they don't have to. There's nothing stopping them, like all of that. There's a contrast being set up here with that. I know, we love Telemachus just being like, I'm fucking tired of this shit. He goes, and now, you know, I've spoken with old King Nestor, I've spoken with Menelaus and Helen, my dad is here. He's like, I'm so fucking tired of this shit. And there's also the fact that Telemachus now has assurance. It's different there. It's vague because it's shameful. Again, it's a sacred story that's recited at sacred festivals. It's not proper to go. True. I just feel there would have, I mean, and you can speak to the Greek better than I can. I just feel there would have been a way in the Greek where it could have been phrased, where it could have just been made like, this is very clearly what I'm talking about, even if I'm not talking about it. He has a way of doing that. But regardless, it can be left to the imagination. It's plausible in some way, but there's no need to go there. I can agree with that. You mean those maids die too? Oh, the traitorous maids? We'll get to them. We'll get to them. Don't worry. Don't worry, we don't forget them. I mean, rough handling of women, literally like, yeah. And they're brutes. And I think it also shows them as brutish because often the other characters I think of who do that sort of, we'll call it rough handling of women, will use the phrasing. I think of centaurs who are beastly and they have, you know, they do that. That's a thing that the centaurs do. They carry off the women, they do that. We're really showing these suitors, they're not human, they're beasts. They need to be slaughtered like beasts because that's what they are. They've essentially forsaken humanity. Yeah, in case you forgot, they suck. And this is Telemachus, I think, in very great words that only a smart person would catch, is saying, God, you're not even fucking human. You'll die like the animals you are. And again, it's also great that he has the assurance that his father is there. He is on a more stable and sure footing because of that. This footing that Penelope still doesn't 100% have. She's like 99% there, but hey, that 1% is still sitting and being annoying on her. But Telemachus knows. He knows that, it's amazing what having confirmation, even if it had gone the other way and he'd gotten confirmation his dad was dead, but having the knowledge and the assurance of, I know I'm no longer in a state of uncertainness, it's amazing how much more he is able to step forth because of that. So it's not just a case of, I have my dad at my back. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. But it's the fact that he's settled. He's so much more settled and assured of himself because there's no question anymore. His dad's alive. Oh, and his dad's here. Bonus point. He has that confirmation in the flesh in front of him. The way that he moves now is just like, I mean, and he was doing pretty well even before he went to Pylos when he, Athena came in and kind of gave him a kick in the butt and said, come on, let's go. I love the way he speaks here. I just really think it shows. No, the 1% is not why the 1% is something else. The 1% is why she had that, like, waking up from that dream and weeping and wishing for death. Like, why she's having that last bit, the vestiges of grief and being unable to deal. Even though, again, she's pretty sure she just met Odysseus, even if in disguise. The bed test is something else. But, anyway. Chiron. Well, Chiron is unique. In fact, Chiron is drawn uniquely to other centaurs. You can ask the chat about, for them, the cursed images of Chiron in ancient art, especially compared with other centaurs. But yes. Where were we? Oh yeah, exploiting them, no shame. So Telemachus just went, you're all beasts. Dead quiet. The suitors all fell silent. Hushed. Like, did he just read us for filth, or did I just get burned? At last, Damastor's son, Agelaus, rose and said, fair enough. My friends, when a man speaks well, we've no grounds for wrangling, no cause for abuse. Hands off this stranger, or any other servant in King Odysseus' palace. But now, a word of friendly advice for Telemachus and his mother. Here's hoping it proves congenial to them both. As long as your hearts still kept a spark alive that Odysseus would return, the great, deep man. Who could blame you? Playing the waiting game at home and holding off the suitors. The better course. It's true. What if Odysseus had returned, had made it home at last? but now it's clear as day. The man will come, no more. So go, Telemachus. Sit with your mother. Coax her to wed the best man here, the one who offers most, so you can have and hold your father's estate, eating and drinking here, your mind at ease, while mother plays the wife in another's house. Yeah, another future dead man making demands. It's like, again, can you imagine the audience hearing this? They'd be like, oh, bitch. The young prince, keeping his poise, replied, I swear by Zeus, Agelaus, by all my father suffered. Dead, no doubt, or wandering far from Ithaca these days. I don't delay my mother's marriage, not a moment. I press her to wed the man who takes her heart. I'll shower her myself with boundless gifts. But I shrink from driving mother from our house, issuing harsh commands against her will. God forbid it ever comes to that. I would like to make a note. This is yet another great contrasting parallel with Orestes and Agamemnon and Clytemnestra. Orestes, who came home and found his mother had heard his mother and her lover had murdered his father, came home, then murdered his mother. Of course, then he got tormented by the Erinyes and had to go get cleansed. Again, the whole cycle of violence, perpetual violence, that whole cycle of the house of Atreus, we know. The messy house husbands of Atreus. There's a difference, because here's Telemachus saying, who am I to drive my mother from this house? I could never. Oh yes, bingo? Always the house of Atreus. My god, Neo, go into the Discord. Someone confirm her bingo. If so, she's sleeping, but I'll bring sleepy girl a snacky. Little anagram, Agelaos, Algea. Oh my god, really? I love that. Love it. We love wordplay. Oh, sleepy baby. Can someone confirm, did Neo get bingo? I don't doubt it. Oh, baby snores. I'm waiting for bingo confirmation. Rabbit hole equals purple. Absolutely a rabbit hole. Sleepy baby. Doing little twitchies in her sleep. Okay, well, while I wait for that, we will then continue. I don't have too much. We only had a couple pages left. So he vowed, and Athena set off uncontrollable laughter in the suitors, crazed them out of their minds. Mad, hysterical laughter seemed to break the jaws of strangers, not their own, and the meat they were eating oozed red with blood. Tears flooded their eyes, hearts possessed by grief. Which is just like, wow, okay. Again, this almost like beastly manic image. The inspired seer, Theoclymenus, wailed out in their midst. Poor men, what terror is this that overwhelms you? Night shrouds your heads, your faces, down to your knees. Cries of mourning are bursting into fire, cheeks rivering tears, the walls, and the handsome crossbeams dripping, dank with blood. Ghosts, look! Thronging the entrance, thronging the court, go trooping down to the world of death and darkness. The sun is blotted out of the sky. Look here! A lethal mist spreads all across the earth. At that, they all broke into peals of laughter, aimed at the seer. Polybus' son Eurymachus braying first and foremost. Our guest just in from abroad. The man is raving. Quick, my boys. Hustle him out of the house into the meeting grounds, the light of day. Everything here he thinks is dark with night. Yes, also again, from his time abroad, remember Theoclymenus. Don't mess with that guy. He's trying to give you guys, again, once again, warnings they're not listening to. Eurymachus, the inspired prophet, countered. When I want your escort, I'll ask for it myself. I have eyes and ears and both my feet still, and a head that's fairly sound. Nothing to be ashamed of. These will do to take me past those doors. Oh, I see it now. The disaster closing on you all. There's no escaping it. No way out. Not for a single one of you suitors, wild, reckless fools plotting outrage here the halls of Odysseus, great and strong as a god. With that, he marched out of the sturdy house and went home to Piraeus, the host who warmed him in. Now, all the suitors, trading their snide glances, started heckling Telemachus, made a mockery of his guests. One or another brash young gallant scoffed. Telemachus, no one's more unlucky with his guests. Look at your man dragged in, this mangy tramp scraping for bread and wine. Not fit for good hard work, bag of bones. Useless deadweight on the land. And then this charlatan up and apes the prophet. Take it from me, you're better off by far. Toss your friends in a slave ship. Pack them off to Sicily fast. They'll fetch you a sweet price. So they jeered. But the prince paid no attention. Silent, eyes riveted on his father, always waiting the moment he'd lay hands on that outrageous mob. And all the while, Icarius' daughter, wise Penelope, had placed her carved chair within earshot at the door, so she could catch each word they uttered in the hall. Laughing rowdily, men prepared their noonday meal, succulent, rich. They'd butchered quite a herd. But as for supper, what could be less enticing than what a goddess and a powerful man would spread before them soon? A groaning feast, for they'd been first to plot their vicious crimes. That is the end of chapter 20. I will let you know that, or book 20. Book 21 is called Odysseus Strings His Bow. The next book will be The Challenge. It will be glorious. Penelope just keeping an earshot, like, And I think it is great that when the prophet speaks, they laugh. And it's just like, oh, you poor morons. You morons. But again, they've laughed and discounted every omen that has ever come to them. That's been consistent since book 2. Are we shocked? Bingo is confirmed. Screenshot is in Discord. Peg, would you like a snacky? Would you like a snacky? I'm gonna get her a snacky. Hold on. She'll probably follow me. You follow me for snacky? Okay, follow me for snacky. What's these? All right, Peg. You have special snackies. We give snack. Today, we get snack. Yeah. Oh, you ate that fast. Normally there's more crunching. Yeah, that's some good crunching. There we go. Good crunches. We love a snacky. You coming up? Yeah, come sit with me, my uppy girl. Okay. I finish I am cold. Snacks. Yeah, you got your snacks. So, are there any questions related to book 20? Or also any questions specifically related to the Odyssey? Crunch, 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 munch, munch, munch. I know, first bingo snackies. 2026. Anybody have questions related to book 20 or the Odyssey? Munch, munch, crunch, crunch, nom, nom, nom. Exactly. That's a good girl. Munch, crunch. I know, she do good crunch. I'm just turning you slightly. It's okay. Not dramatic. You're fine. Yeah. Just a baby. Just a baby. That's just a real baby. Crunch, munch. Munch, crunch. Crunch, crunch. Munch, munch. Munch and crunch. Crunch and crunch. Is that good stuff? Okay. Good stuff. Is Peg doing better with her kidneys and whatnot? We're actually going in next week to do basically blood tests just to check. We'll check in, see how her values are looking. The last time we were there, I was told that her blood and everything looked boring, which is my favorite word. I mean, the kidney thing is never really gonna go away, but if it's being properly managed, then great. Last we'd heard, properly managed. Is slaughter a filter word? No, it's not. Yes, we hope for a boring blood test. It's our favorite thing. What was the line about Penelope making the inferior man something something by marriage? Ah! I know what line you mean. That's why she was crying out to Artemis, just end me now. Our poor babes. Our babe. It's like, no babe, no. I'm assuming you mean the bit where she says, never let me warm the heart of a weaker man. That bit, Mariana? Yeah. Yes, says, just so may the gods who rule Olympus blot me out. Artemis, with your glossy braids, come shoot me dead, so I can plunge beneath this loathsome earth with the image of Odysseus vivid in my mind. Never let me warm the heart of a weaker man. Ah, our babes. Our babes, our queen. She and Odysseus just like, they are true OTP. I wonderfully ignore the telegony. And it's lost, so generally I don't have to think about it. Would Peg take out on her own, and who would she target first? I mean, if you locked all the doors with no way for the air to escape and she let loose a fart, they're all dead. She just knocked them all out. The gas warfare is on the table with Peg. Everybody's gone. It's the same term, the one for heart, that's the subject of Athena's actions on the suitors. It's the perceiving mind, the mind that thinks, ooh, I love that. Love that. Anxiety leaves. Just Calypso's bad sense. Oh, hold on. Literally, she's saying Penelope would make bright the perception of the inferior man she would end up marrying. Of course she would! Of course she would! That makes sense. That makes so much sense. Hold on. Where did I put... Too many things. Too little space. Hold on. I missed a question. I saw it relating to Calypso. Anxiety tea leaves. I think that was you. Hold on. So I'm grabbing this because it's easier than trying to mess around with my scroll bar or what have you. So was that question? Does Calypso's bad Xenia towards Odysseus mirror the suitors intentionally? Like in the way Homer phrases it, I mean. They've both held Odysseus and Penelope hostage in a way. That's a really good question. In terms of the Greek, I don't know. Usually Calypso, in terms of parallels, it's like a contrasting parallel, but it's usually drawn between her and Circe, more so than it is her and the suitors. But I think it's a jab at them. She is superior even to them. Oh yeah, of course she is. But I think that's actually interesting. You know, it could be. It could be, but the parallel is more with, in terms of the suitors, more at Troy. They're besieging a place. And then versus Calypso, who's usually contrasted with Circe, these two, you know, minor goddesses, if you will, with great power, but the power dynamic, while present, is different in both cases. So good question. I do think it is more, the suitors are paralleled more with what happens at Troy than anything else. Yeah, definitely some parallels in the not wanting part. Absolutely. Any idea when the telegony was lost? No, the lost epics, we don't really have any idea as to when exactly they got lost. Because again, the telegony is not the only one. There's handfuls of others. Just over time, they weren't held in kind of the same esteem as Homer. Homer was, again, as Herodotus says, Hesiod and Homer, the foundations of Hellenic culture. They were important, but not like something on the level of Homer where he was so preserved. We don't know exactly when they were lost, so far as I know. I don't think there's like one date. They just sort of, you know, if you don't get written down enough and that written down copy doesn't get preserved, you know, what few there are don't get preserved, they just sort of, away they go. And so all we get left are summaries of them. Written, I believe, presumably, and I do believe it is understood to be, that some of the best summaries are written by people who had read them. So. I do love the jab that Penelope is superior to the suitors, because of course she is. She is. She's superior to them in the same way Odysseus is superior to them. It's just like, bitch, I'm not settling. I'm not marrying down. Who do you think I am? Ugh, Penelope, our forever queen. We love her. We just love her. Yeah, in this house, we love Penelope. We are team Penelope in this house. Always. Sorry, I'm looking and making sure that I haven't missed anyone's questions as they flitted by real quickly. I think I'm good. Well, no, I mean, we make the joke about the telegony, but no, they wouldn't have considered it that. I mean, it was important to them. Homer was just unique almost in the regard that he was held. Him and Hesiod both were quite unique in the regard they were held in, just compared to other writings. But nobody would have looked at the telegony and thought, oh, this is bullshit. No, it was still important to them. Oh yeah, Peg just says early stage, like potential kidney disease, just treated with a prescription diet. So thankfully we're okay. Rightfully banished. She would make them be perceived better than they are because she would be their spouse, which I guess is a man to adorn her. Ha! I wonder if there are any deliberate contrasts between how Helen was pursued and how Penelope was pursued, like poetic parallels. Dark ones, contrasting ones, in a way, yeah. I think you can make the argument. Although, the difference would be, Helen being a daughter of Zeus, you know, they would not have, and obviously because it would be proper heroes coming to, warlords, if you will, coming to court Helen, they behaved much better. They were not badgering Tyndareus or Helen, and in the fact that Tyndareus gave her the choice. In this case, nobody was badgering Tyndareus, being like, you pick for her, right? Like, Tyndareus, and I think even rightfully almost Helen's biggest worry is that, and this was sort of his worry in any of them getting chosen, was just like, you pick one, everybody else is going to be so pissed they'll go to war with each other over it. And Helen will just be kind of treated like a trophy who gets passed around, and nobody wanted that. So, but like dark contrasting parallels, I think in a way there is. I mean, let's remember, Penelope is her cousin, half cousin, really. Oh, the Telegony is not written by Homer. No, Homer only wrote the Homer only wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. The other epics of the poems of the epic cycle have different authors. All of them, actually. I think each one has a different author, or attributed to a different person. Yeah. Did you say Penelope's 1% of doubt tied to all the years she lost with him, and doubt creeping in, and then he finally returned to her and her son? Yeah, and also, he showed up to her in disguise, didn't say, I'm Odysseus. She didn't see his scar. Like, she has no 100% final confirmation. All she's gotten for years are stories from people. People saying he's dead, he's here, he's there, like, he'll come, he won't. Like, unlike Telemachus, who's gotten the confirmation, Penelope hasn't. There's just that 1% that's left that's keeping her on unstable footing. Yeah, Circe wouldn't. Circe marrying down 20-something son of her former. Homer is doing the contrast of Penelope and Clytemnestra. The whole thing of Odysseus' homecoming is deliberately contrasted with what happened with Agamemnon, and this even goes to Telemachus with Orestes. And again, that's done from the jump. From book one, we're making the contrast all the way through, which is why I'm just like, Agamemnon is so important to the story. I understand why the contrast gets cut like all the time in adaptations, but I always think it's such a loss. Iterating on Courtney, Penelope, and Helen, are there any parallels between Penelope and Clytemnestra before each were wed? Not that I really know of. Clytemnestra was already wed, I believe, before Helen. She was married to Agamemnon because Agamemnon was there on behalf of his brother, on behalf of Menelaus. As far as I know, I can't think of any parallels that I'm familiar of between them. The telemogony. The telegony, yes, is being referenced obliquely. But yeah, no, in terms of parallels between Penelope and Clytemnestra before they were wed, I can't really think of any. None spring to mind. Keeping the Penelope-Clytemnestra contrast. You don't even have to work that hard to keep it, because as long as you have Agamemnon kind of involved, it's like dominoes that fall in line. Like, the contrast then just gets implied in their actions, so you don't even have to pay that much lip service to it. We're going to see it in the actions. I'm curious. Yeah, again, I'm not speculating much on Nolan's Odyssey because I'm like, I don't have a script, like a finalized script, because even a version of a script could be out and it could be like, which nobody would ever get their hands on because he's so tightly lidded on his scripts. It might not be the final shooting script or the final script that goes to print, so it's kind of like, I have no speculations and no thoughts other than I'm curious. That's all I can say. Favorite adaptation of the Odyssey? Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Ulysses by James Joyce. Anything that's a direct adaptation, I've never been really a huge fan of. Why wasn't he inspired to court Helen directly? I don't remember the exact reasoning why he wasn't there directly. Part of it might have been just because having Agamemnon as the king of Mycenae roll up, it throws weight behind him. I don't remember the exact reason why he wasn't there.